Let's talk parts matrix and let's talk labor matrix. And first of all, let's understand the purpose of these matrices, because it causes some of their prices to go up, become preoccupied or wholly focused on the fact that it makes the price go up and they think it's all about raising prices. That's not the case. A price matrix is designed to raise the prices on lower priced items that are more affordable and lower the price on higher priced items that are less affordable, and add balance. And so when we look at parts, we really need around 60 to 62% gross profit. Understand, I'm not talking about markup here. We need gross profit, 62% roughly on our parts. And one of the things that you'll find is that when we just have a straight markup or we have a straight price, there's no rule, there's no set process for how we price these parts. What ends up happening is that we get this number off. It's hard to manage, and we end up setting the number lower than we should because we have somebody fuss about price, and we don't understand that the reason they're fussing is because there's no consistency, and it's like we're trying to meet it somewhere in the middle. So some things are too expensive and some things are too cheap. And so this is a great way to help balance that out so you don't have inconsistencies in your pricing. But it's not just about raising your price. Now, is it going to raise some prices? Yes, it is. Let's talk about labor matrix. Labor matrix is a little bit different, as in that the labor matrix is designed to bring your labor up as the labor hours go up. Now, why in the world would we want to do that? Well, here's why. When we look at pricing bigger jobs, there's a number that an experienced shop owner is going to look at, and it's called gross profit per hour. And it tells him how much profit per labor hour on the ticket does he have. And if he runs his business or she runs her business really well, they'll know what the number is that they need. And if you start tracking this number, you realize that these big jobs, these expensive jobs, these engine and transmission jobs, these jobs that, let's look at a rear main seal that only has minimal parts on it, but a ton of labor. What happens with that? What's the end result? Well, it means that your gross profit for the same amount of time is much lower. And if we can make more money just doing those simple brake jobs, shouldn't we just be doing brake jobs? Well, the answer is kind of yes and no. Somebody still has to do the big work. Somebody has to handle the challenging jobs, but we have to be able to make the same amount of money. We got to be able to pay our bills. So that means that the labor price per hour must increase when we get up there with these bigger jobs, because our gross profit per hour goes down in bigger jobs. Now look, I know for a fact, many shop owners believe that these big jobs pay better. They do not. Big jobs cost you money in a lot of cases. Higher liability, more frustration, less profit in the end. So you got to be careful with that. The labor matrix balances this out so our gross profit per hour is where we need it to be so we can survive financially. Now, here's the thing about both of these. When we talk about pricing, especially for a small business owner, it can be really difficult to get your pricing where you need it to be. It can be a little overwhelming because you're selling from your wallet. You know that, hey, those are really expensive prices in some cases. That doesn't feel very nice. I don't want to take advantage of people. I want to take care of people. Secondly, a lot of small businesses do not have the proper financials, the clean books that we can go back at and look to verify, hey, we're making money or we're not. So they just kind of wing it. And it's like, well, I got a little bit of money in my bank account, so I think I'm okay. Or my bank account's going up a little bit, so I'm sure everything's fine. And so a small business is a lot harder to help them understand why this is so important, why these numbers are so important. The other side of this is often we raise our prices. And what's the first thing that happens? Well, our consumers that are used to these lower prices, especially if we've been charging subpar rates, they get upset about that. They get frustrated because they've come to you because you have those lower rates. They want to use your business because of those lower rates. Now, here's the thing. When we start raising these rates, when we start adjusting in this way, what happens? Well, it's inevitable. We have some consumers, especially if we've been charging subpar rates, that get frustrated or get a little upset because all of a sudden there's this change. What we don't realize is they've been coming to us because we are cheaper than others, okay? And so it can be a little bit of a shock to them. They thought they had found somebody who's a lot cheaper than everybody else. Maybe it fit their budgetary constraints better, and it's a shock to them. Now, here's the thing. I'm just going to be honest with you here. About 90% of the problems in your shop are caused by 10% of the clients, and that 10% is typically the bottom 10% of your clients. They're the ones who always have an issue. They don't have a lot of money, so every time something happens with the car, it's got to be somebody else's fault. And typically it's the shop's fault that there's a problem with the car in their mind. And it's not to be derogatory or, disrespectful to them. It's just what it is, right? Like, I'm not saying anything bad. It's that they're not in a position to be able to handle these things financially. Well, as shop owners or business owners, we look at that and we say, oh my gosh, I feel so bad. I got to do something and I'm going to lose all my clients because they fussed about it. And so first of all, you got to ask yourself, am I managing to the exception or am I managing to the rule? Because the majority of your clients probably aren't going to say anything. The majority of your clients probably aren't even going to notice unless you're way too cheap. That's a problem. Now, the second thing that we have to think about is you have the curse of knowledge. When you're shop and you're selling these parts and you're selling the labor and the repair, you have the curse of knowledge. You understand what it costs to repair that vehicle. You understand exactly how much it takes to repair that vehicle. Now, you discount your knowledge, you discount your ability, and you look at it and you say, man, it should be a lot less than this because I know how to do it. You rarely take into account the fact the consumer doesn't know how to do it. They don't understand how it works. They don't understand how to fix the car, okay? And so you have a knowledge and you discount that subconsciously and you say, I shouldn't be charging them this much because it seems really easy to me. Now, the other side of that is you also know what the parts cost. And so there again, you're saying, oh my gosh, they could go over there to the parts store and buy that and it would be so much less. What am I supposed to do with this? Well, there again, they're not buying the same part that you're selling when they're at the parts store, are they? What are they buying? They're buying a properly repaired automobile with a warranty. They're buying the repair. They're not buying the parts. They're not buying the labor. They're buying a repaired vehicle. Obviously, they're not buying the vehicle, but they're buying a repair. They're buying more than just a part. They're buying more than just labor. They're buying your expertise. They're buying your willingness and your ability to stand behind it and do what's right if something happens, right? And so we have to take that into account too. Now, here's the other thing. And this one is something that I think a lot of people miss, and they get into the Facebook groups, they comment, they share stuff, and they don't think about this factor. A lot of us, shop owners, service advisors, technicians, have been to years and years and years of training. We have had it ground into our brains that we must provide value to our guests. We must provide value to our clients. Well, on that front counter, conveying value is not just saying, well, it's going to be $29.95 to fix it. That's not value, okay? That's not how you convey the value. We have to explain what the process is, how much work goes into that process. And I'm not talking about hours. I'm talking about we have to define. Now, here's what we have to do. We're going to replace this. We're going to replace this. We're going to replace this. Now, while he's in there, he's going to take this apart and clean this and do this, right? We have to build value in the process. Now, when I end, what am I going to say? Now, Mrs. Klein, I hope you understand everything we do comes with 36-month, 36,000 mile nationwide warranty, so you don't ever have anything to worry about. If you were to be somewhere out of town and they didn't take care of it, I still take care of it. I stand behind my work. It is a no hassle, no frustration warranty. You have a problem, it's something I did, I make it right. I take care of it. It's my job to build value in the product that we're providing our guest. And if you've never been trained on that, if you've never been trained on that customer service aspect, and you all of a sudden just change your price, guess what? The guest is going to look at you and say, are you sure? Why? I'm getting the same product I've always gotten before. Why is the price different now? And if you think about it, that makes a lot of sense. It's your responsibility to be sharing what's different, what's new, what's better about your business, what value you're now providing. This might upset some of you, but you better make sure you're actually providing value, because fixing the car is the bare expectation. It's the bare minimum that we're supposed to do on a daily basis. We have to fix the car. That's the bare, that's what they expect, the base expectation. If the base expectation is fixing the car, what else can I do to provide value? Does my facility look like somewhere that I would want to take my car? Is it clean? Are my technicians clean and wearing clean uniforms? Is the shop clean inside? Does it smell good? Do I speak to them kindly and treat them with respect? Do I look like I'm going to treat their car well? All of these things play into providing value. Here at the shop, we got loaner cars, we got a warranty, we got, drinks and snacks when they come in. We offer free rides and we offer free pickup and delivery. There's so much that goes into the process of repairing an automobile beyond fixing the car. And it's my job to help the consumer see the value in what we do. So if you're raising your prices and you're getting pushback, I'm going to challenge you, don't panic, don't overreact, don't pull back just because somebody said something that sounds critical of you. Stop for a minute, analyze the situation, and decide where are we at financially with this? Is this the number that we need, right? Because I hear a lot of people talk talking about these prices like, hey, I'm going to adjust this sucker until people don't fuss and until everybody's happy. And if you do that, you're going to go broke. You build your prices off of what your financials say you need to survive. And I'm telling you, you need 60% gross profit on parts, but I'm telling you, you need to set your prices based on what you need to thrive, not just survive. And I'm going to tell you that that is going to come out to roughly 60% on parts, gross profit, and roughly 70% on labor. Again, gross profit. That's the number, right? Now it's going to vary for your area. You have to take into account your expenses and your overhead, but that's the number. And so it doesn't matter what the consumer wants to pay. It matters what your numbers say, what your numbers dictate. Otherwise, you're going to be a statistic. And that statistic is the majority of small businesses fail in the first 5 years of business. And I don't want that for you. I consider all of you my friends, and I don't want that for my friends. Y'all have a good one.